In this video, we're going to talk about a few HVAC parts that they will go bad for sure. Over the course of my HVAC service tech illustrious career, I changed out a whole lot of stuff. And when you change out a whole lot of stuff and parts and fill up refrigerant 6,000 times, you get to see patterns of things that happen. And I've compiled this list of HVAC parts that not only go bad, but they will go bad before it's all said and done with almost any air conditioner. The first one is going to be obvious, the run capacitor. Run capacitors back 30 years ago were made the size of 2-liter Pepsis. And if you see a run capacitor from back then, you'll see one of those General Electric bad boys that are like this tall, this wide, they look like a fire extinguisher. And they're huge, and they have so much oil in them that it's hard for them to overheat, get too hot. And this is only my personal opinion, but as capacitors get smaller, they also have more trouble staying cool, especially in the hot summer months when that AC is running all the time. So power is coursing through that capacitor, so to speak, and it's getting hotter and hotter, so they're more likely to fail. Plus, a lot of them are made overseas and may not be made to the same standards as some of those older capacitors. In fact, I pretty much guarantee it because the evidence shows that heavily. I've seen many older capacitors in units that were 40, 50 years old that were the original capacitors. And whenever I change out a newer unit, you never see the original capacitor. In fact, a lot of them come with capacitors that you can pretty much bet they're going to die within 5 years. And a lot of them, I've noticed, have died within a year or two, brand new units. You're going to replace those suckers. And if you replace those, there's not necessarily anything wrong with the unit. It's just they're made so poorly and designed so poorly that they're just going to fail. And you may say, well, how do you know the design is so poor? Well, because they're failing. That is the evidence for the poor design. If they're failing a lot, that means they could have been done better. Why do the ones years ago do better? Well, there's different fluid inside some of those, but some of that fluid's illegal, and they have to use castor oil or whatever they use now. But that's just the way it is. Run capacitor is probably number one on this list. Number two is any sort of bimetal relay. And I'm looking at you, Goodman blower relay. I've made several videos in the past called the infamous Goodman blower relay, and they go bad all the time. Now, that relay hasn't been used in a long time. Goodman's had a circuit board in their unit for their basic units, for the last couple decades. So it's not really as bad as the bimetal relay. They do go bad, and I've changed out many of those boards, so much so they used to keep one on the truck that I saw it commonly enough. But the bimetal relays, like heat sequencers, because of the stress they're under electrically, they tend to go bad. They are prone to getting very hot a lot. They're used a lot in the wintertime, and it's just after metal flexes so many times over the years, they're bound to wear out. It's just a foregone conclusion. So you will see that quite a bit. I used to carry, not the Goodman blower relay, I'd change it to a different type of relay because the Goodman blower relay was just so awful. Still, there's so much current going through those. We're talking about 20 amps of current on some of these things in residential, that it's going to be difficult to have them last forever. So you're going to see that quite a bit. You can carry 5K, 10K, 15 and 20 kW heat sequencer kits, and it's important, especially if you're replacing something that's a larger heat sequencer that has like a couple relays on a plate. You want to replace those with the same relays, because if you try to put separate relays in, they won't be timed like that large relay, and you will have an issue. You may smoke up a customer's house and they call you back an hour afterwards. I'm not saying that's from experience, but I did it. I did that. Don't be like me, be better. The third item is cheap start components. Now, these aren't necessarily there from the beginning. A lot of times people will put in a 2-wire hard start kit, really easy to put on, super boost it, it'll be good to go. But they are a lot less effective than a 3-wire hard start kit like your 521s. Also, back in the day, they'd use these little PTCs, positive temperature coefficient deals, to help start the compressor. And those suckers would just get hot, 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 and then sometimes explode. I've had videos, I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was a decade ago at least, where one of them exploded, the capacitor exploded. I had to replace every component in this Goodman unit. The defrost board, contactor, PTC, which I don't think I replaced the PTC. I think I put in something else. Probably put in a hard start, like a 521. and it was still cheap enough to do. I mean, this was not a new unit, and you might say, why did you change that unit out? It's because all these components in these Goodman units are so cheap that you could replace them all. I mean, we're talking about a defrost board that can cost 20% of what another defrost board costs. So it's really easy to do, and you can actually replace those. But PTCs, they go boom boom a lot. So there's 3 items right there that they go boom boom a lot. Maybe not as dramatically as some of the others, but they're going to be replaced by the same or different. I want to thank the sponsor for this video. It's Free to Grow. It's an AI service. Now, when I first heard about this, these guys contacted me. I was like, AI? I don't know about that. But they're actually taking the burden off of your office staff, especially in the summer months, when AI can come in there and answer a lot of questions that your customers would have and divert them away from your front office staff. It's really quite an ingenious idea to help your company. For several months of the year, your company has to answer calls, but in the summertime, the volume goes way up. So either you can hire more people for that short period of high volume, or you can have a service like this Free to Grow, which will come in there and actually help you quite a bit, take the burden off of you, and make your life a lot easier. You can find out more, go to the website on the screen, or there's a link in the description of this video. And as a fun little ending component, I'm going to talk about UV lights. Now, UV lights, they don't really go with the rest of this stuff, but it's funny because if you buy a UV light and you don't know much about them, you put it in, it's like, hey, great. You come back the next year, it's still on, it's like, hey, great, it's doing a great job. But UV lights really need to be changed about every year because their effectiveness goes away. I never knew that, and I'd leave them in there for a long time until someone said, you need to change those out periodically. I didn't know that. That was news to me. So that's something you can put on this list because it's not going to last forever, because it can't. It's not supposed to last forever. You're supposed to service it. That's why having a PM plan is pretty good. You come in and take care of stuff like that. Well, I thought I'd tag that there at the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you come back for the next one. And God bless each and every one of you.
Save 8% off your order at TruTechTools.com by using the Shop Talk discount code.